Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk about something interesting, namely telephone things. So let me just come over to the camera. Talk about the Swedish, how Swedish telephone jacks and stuff like that are connected. So, to demonstrate this, we're going to use one of these. I'm going to measure this first and then explain a few things. So I'll take out my multimeter. Sorry that is the wrong way, but you just have to listen. So we're going to connect the first pole here, the number 1 pole. It's the one to the left of middle, or right to middle, or left to middle. Gonna hold that. This red here. See. So there we have the. You see here the in is there, and the number 2, the green in this case is here. So in a normal international system, you would only use the 2 in the middle, but in Sweden we have a really interesting system. I can actually open this up and show you where the premise of the Swedish telephone system is that you shouldn't be able to eavesdrop. So this connector here is an RJ12, I think. We just used the I think it's RJ12. This looks like one. Just with 4 instead of just 2. And in us an RJ11 that you would be familiar with. So that's the inside. So why would you do this? Well, when you pick up a phone, I'm just gonna pick up a phone. You connect the leads. I can show you in connect this and this, and this, and rather. I don't really know how this works, but I know that if you don't connect them, you pick up the phone. You don't. No one else can pick up the phone, or rather, when they pick up the phone before. If you look at the screen here, oops, screen. There we go. Look at here. You can see that the goes in here, and then it goes through here and through all the way. When you pick up the phone, it disconnects one of these, and so that only you can speak. And if you are on this this outlet here, this telephone outlet here, pick up the phone, you will disconnect this lead, and only you can speak. But if someone picks up the phone before you are disconnected. So that you know when someone is eavesdropping or picks up the phone, and it's really interesting. I think that's the way it works. I would assume so, at least. And I think it works both ways. That if you pick up the phone here and someone picks up the phone later, it should sort of you should notice it somehow. It's an interesting eavesdropping prevention mechanism, and I think that all phones really have that nowadays. At least in Sweden, most phones have that. I was just curious about how this actually works. So let's look at one of these. You can see. Oops, let me move back to the camera. If you look at this, and this, if you push this into here, like so, you break the circuit, as I said before, because I can actually remove that. Yes. If you look here, I have my microphone right in front of me. So, whoops. You see here, this metal thing here. When you push that down, it separates down here, up here. I mean, the switches here, so that and that become disconnected. And it must go through the phone, and that is how all of these look inside. So when you push this down, you're no longer bridging these connectors, and that makes it possible to actually use these without having a phone in each of them. If that stops working, it will become problematic. It will stop working. All the phones later would stop working. So I was thinking how to emulate this using JR. If you were to use a patch panel with JR6, JR11 or 12. I mean 12 keystone or something like that. How you can emulate this, and I realized that you can't really emulate this without having some of these JR12 or JR11 plugs that have some sort of bridging mechanism. Where you bridge 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. So that's an interesting thing. So I was thinking that you can, when you wire up your patch panel, that you wire them from pin. You go into pin 1 and pin 2 in the first jack. Then in the second jack you go from, or then from. No, I mean, yes, 1 and 2, and then the next you take the 3, pin 3, and shove it over to pin 1 on the next jack, and so on. That should work, I think, but it's really not that useful in nowadays, because we had a law before where you had to have everything in series in Sweden, but that rule has actually changed due to various things. So I don't really see why we should be using these nowadays anyway, because they're just bulky. I mean, they are quite big, hefty equipment for telephone. Instead of using a ordinary 4-pin or 6-pin connector, I mean, that would be much better connectivity, and because you can just wire the pins together on the patch board anyway. So yeah, interesting. So I just wanted to show you that because I thought it was quite an interesting little thing to talk about. I think I've got this right. That is, I'm not a teletechnician. Probably figure out, but I think that is how it works. That when you pick up the phone here, it will disconnect this one somehow. And if someone else picks up the phone afterwards, you will sort of notice it because then you have these two. This will pass electricity back to this. And you will notice it, I think. I don't really know. I have to check that by lifting the phone in different places through the house and see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I just thought it was an interesting little doohickey. Doohickey. You want to? Maybe I already showed this, didn't I? Yes. So this is just a pass-through where you can just plug another one of these into here. So it's actually quite smart design that way. And this is an ordinary plate, some sort of thing. Of course, these are much easier to use because you can just stack them on top of each other. I mean, I have a stack of these pass-throughs that are basically a few 5 of them, and that is something you can't do with JR 11 or JR 12. I just wanted to show you that. The impossibly interesting thingy. Yeah, I really have to check how this actually works, but I think you should be able to detect if someone picks up the phone. If you are say here and someone picks up the phone here, you will detect it because it will be disconnected. But I think you should be able to when you're here, and if someone picks up the phone here. Oh yes, no. What happens is when you pick up the phone here, this will not connect. So yes, so you can't hear. But if you are here and someone picks up the phone here, it will disconnect you. So yeah, that's the way it works. This just disconnects it, and that's how you detect if someone is eavesdropping. Yes, that's the way it works. Anyway, thanks for watching and looking at how this stupid or really brilliant configuration we have in Sweden with our eavesdropping protection on phones. So, ta-ra! Have a good one.